Statorless electric generator. New inventions on electric generators. Inventor Jacob Lickbrem. Monday, December 3rd, 2025. Currently, direct current machines, especially DC generators, typically rotate only one side of the system, the armature or exciter system. Typically, in a small DC generator, the armature, the rotor, rotates while the exciter, a permanent magnet, remains stationary and is placed in the stator. The voltage or EMF generated by a DC generator is not too large, limited by the construction of a DC machine, and the common method is to rotate one of its main components, the armature or exciter. Considerations regarding the limited power sources for electric generators, such as water to drive turbines, gas for gas turbines, or fuel for diesel and gasoline engines to meet higher generator rotational speeds to generate EMF. Voltage often face challenges. For example, hydropower requires high waterfall and water discharge, which are related to geographic location, rainfall, or river flow, to rotate the turbine generator at higher rotational speeds as a backup in case the driving energy drops. The turbine generator system itself often fails to meet the required voltage and frequency generation requirements. The method or technique is to multiply the rotational speed of the rotor relative to the stator by rotating the stator in the opposite direction to the rotor rotation. This is to anticipate limitations in the generator's driving power source in generating higher voltages. Primary conclusion laboratory test results indicate that this new invention by Jacob Lickbrem, namely a statorless electric generator with an armature and exciter rotating in opposite directions, can generate a voltage/EMF of 118, 5 volts, twice as high as if only one of them rotated, namely 60 volts, at a base rotation speed of 960 revolutions per minute. Background of the discovery and rationale. 1. Can we obtain a higher EMF voltage from a generator without changing its base speed? 2. If so, what methods and equipment must be added to the generator to obtain a higher voltage? 3. The rationale is to increase the relative rotational speed of the rotor relative to the stator. So how can this be achieved? The idea is that to increase the relative rotational speed, the two parts must move in opposite directions, meaning that the stator must also rotate in the opposite direction to the rotor. However, how can the stator be rotated in the opposite direction? What will happen as a result of rotating the stator in the opposite direction from the rotor? How to multiply the magnitude of the EMF voltage. Concept of thinking/design ideas. The counter-rotating movement of the exciter system, which was previously stationary, causes the relative rotation speed of the rotor, armature, to the magnetic flux from the exciter system, which is moving to reach twice the normal speed, thus causing more frequent intersections in a shorter time of the changing number of flux lines with the conductor, armature, which is rotating in the opposite direction, thus causing the movement of electrons in the conductor to be twice as fast as if only one part was rotating. Therefore, the resulting EMF electric strength is also twice as large with a frequency of change that is also twice as high, are rotating in opposite directions. So, how can we produce a higher speed than a generator normally produces without changing the size of the rotating power source? Turbine, diesel engine, gasoline engine, etc. So, is it possible to rotate the stator, armature, or excitation in the opposite direction to the rotor, excitation, or armature? Yes, of course it is possible. This is in accordance with Faraday's law. E equals BLV, or EMF voltage, is equal to constant, C, times magnetic flux, times rotational speed, and this states that by accelerating the movement, V, or the relative rotational speed of the rotor to the stator, the EMF voltage will become greater. By rotating the stator in the opposite direction from the rotor, the rotational speed of the rotor relative to the stator will increase to a maximum of 2 times greater than if only the rotor rotates and the stator is stationary, and the resulting EMF voltage will also be twice as large. To multiply the generator's output voltage. Problem. Technique/method of rotating the stationary part, stator with its coils, What equipment is needed to realize this? What is also important is consideration of mechanical vibrations when rotating. What is the shape of the voltage waveform? Will there be fluctuations/swings in the voltage of unsymmetrical voltage waves and low-frequency currents? And consideration of the adverse effects and risks of mechanical shocks. The requirements for stator rotation that must be met are as follows. 1. The armature must be rotated at a speed adjusted to the pole surfaces of these two parts, namely that the pole surfaces of the armature must be exactly in a straight line with the magnetic poles of the exciter. 2. The armature, stator, is rotated in the opposite direction to the direction of rotation of the exciter, rotor. The armature is in the stator and the exciter is in the rotor, then. A. The rotational speed of the armature, stator, must be slightly faster than the rotational speed of the rotor, exciter, and must be able to adjust to the rotational speed of the rotor, exciter. B. The pole surfaces of these two parts must always be opposite or in a straight line every 1/2 rotation, 3/4 rotation, 1 rotation, 2 rotations, and so on for a 2-poles generator, meaning they must be synchronized to produce good voltage waveform performance, sinusoidal. C. The exciter system should use permanent magnets because it is simpler and avoids the use of an external DC current source. If using an electromagnetic excitation system, using a coil, a carbon brush and commutator must be used to connect the exciter coil to a DC voltage supply outside the generator system, thus making the generator system more complex and somewhat cumbersome, and will also produce electric sparks. 4. The armature, stator, is coupled using a gearbox and placed on the same axis as the rotor, exciter, to obtain the same driving source, 1' mover system. 5. The armature, stator, uses slip rings and carbon brushes to supply power to loads outside the generator. The image below shows an AC generator system with the armature, rotor, rotating to the right, and the permanent magnet exciter, rotating stator, rotating to the left. The exciter rotates to the left, and the armature rotates to the right. Test results. The test results yielded the following voltage values. 1. If the rotational direction of both systems is the same, the resulting EMF is less than the nominal, normal, voltage. If the rotational speeds are the same, the EMF is 0. This is because the relative speed between the rotor and the stator is smaller and becomes even smaller if the relative speeds are the same in the same direction. 2. If the rotational direction of the two systems is opposite, the resulting voltage/EMF is greater than the nominal, normal value of the EMF. If the rotational speeds are the same, the voltage/EMF will be approximately twice the nominal, normal value. This is because the relative speed between the rotor and stator is greater and will increase even further if the relative speeds between the two parts reach the same value in opposite directions of rotation. The resulting EMF waveform, when both parts are rotated, will have an amplitude twice the amplitude when only one is rotated, and its frequency will also be twice the frequency when only one is rotated. The value of the EMF, E, generated is written in the equation below, equals Hanya rotor-Young repeater. If V asterisk equals 2V, then the EMF value is asterisk equals 2 equals 2E. Notes is the relative cutting speed if only the rotor is rotating. Asterisk is the relative cutting speed if both parts. The resulting EMF waveform, when both parts are rotated, will have an amplitude twice the amplitude when only one is rotated. Its frequency will also be twice the frequency when only one is rotated. The value of the EMF, E, generated is written in the equation below, equals value of EMF if only rotor rotates. If V asterisk equals 2V, then the EMF value is asterisk equals 2 equals 2E. Notes is the relative cutting speed if only the rotor is rotating. Asterisk is the relative cutting speed if both parts. Analysis. This usually occurs because the relative speed between the armature and exciter systems ranges from 0 to twice the normal rotation speed. In other words, the speed difference is smaller or there is no speed difference if the rotation direction is the same. The EMF will be twice the EMF at the normal nominal rotation speed, which is generated at normal rotation speed if only one of the systems, the armature or the exciter, is rotated. Therefore, the resulting EMF voltage ranges from 0 to twice the normal voltage if both systems, the armature and the exciter, are rotated in opposite directions and in the same direction. By rotating both parts of the generator at the same speed but in opposite directions, the relative speed is doubled and the EMF is twice as high as normal. The counter-rotating movement of the exciter system, which was previously stationary, causes the relative rotation speed of the rotor, armature, to the magnetic flux from the exciter system, which is moving to reach twice the normal speed, thus causing more frequent intersections in a shorter time of the changing number of flux lines with the conductor, armature, which is rotating in the opposite direction, thus causing the movement of electrons in the conductor to be twice as fast as if only one part was rotating. Therefore, the resulting EMF electric strength is also twice as large with a frequency of change that is also twice as high. Are rotating in opposite directions. Laboratory test results show that the generator can generate a voltage / EMF twice as high as if only one part were rotated. This concludes my brief presentation on the results of a new discovery on how to multiply voltage using a generator, which I named a statorless generator, that I hope that this new technology for multiplying the EMF voltage of a statorless generator will be beneficial and can be further developed to produce a generator capable of increasing voltage even higher and better. It can be used for electrical energy services without constraints on the generator's prime mover. Thank you very much for your attention. Best wishes and continued success. I am inventor Jacob Lickbremer.